Yeah.
Oh, gotta get their fast shot.
Yeah.
Gotta get their fast shot. There it is.
Welcome Britball Nation to our Uniball Week 1 Power Rankings. Last week's rankings seemed to go down really well, we've had some great feedback, so please remember that if you like our moves towards making more video content here at DC, to like this video, subscribe to our channel and ideally give our content a quick share. It really helps us out and puts the British game out there for more people to get involved in. We're going to kick things off with Division 2 where we only had a small scattering of fixtures at the weekend, the bulk of Div 2 balling getting underway this weekend. As such, you might not expect to see too many changes in this week's rankings, but you never know, so let's jump into it. Before we get to the rankings themselves, an honourable mention goes out to the York Centurions, who not only held their own but actually took away a win against Division 1's Sheffield Sabres. We're loath to jump the Centurions up into the power rankings until they play an actual competitive fixture, but if things go as expected against the Pyros, look for the Centurions to rocket into the ranks in Week 2. From honourable to something less positive, the Bristol Barracuda are the first power rankings casualty, dropping out of the rankings after placing 6th coming into the year. Bristol could drop out of the top 10 following their 13-30 defeat against the Plymouth Blitz. You can't expect to ship 30 points and a 3-score loss in Week 1 and still keep a spot in the top 10. The game was initially a lot more competitive than the scoreline suggests, with the two teams closely matched through the first half. However, as the second half wore on, it became apparent that the Blitz might be the better conditioned of the two teams, with Bristol looking worn and one-dimensional as the game ground on. Running back Yemi Falana is an offensive weapon that will give teams in the South West Conference real problems this season, but with the aerial attack never getting going, expect to see some stacked boxes against him. An inauspicious start to Bristol's residents in their superb new facilities at the Coombe Dingle Sports Complex, but expect the Barracuda to show more bite as the season progresses and most likely make a reappearance in these rankings.
10.
The Mud Dogs hold firm in the number 10 spot. They get their first blooding this weekend as they welcome the Edge Hill Vikings to the Welsh coast. It'll be an interesting test for the Mud Dogs, as Edge Hill certainly looked to be the cream of the crop of the new programmes that emerged in the Northwest last year, though that didn't stop the Mud Dogs taking them apart in Week 11. Bangor started last season shaky, but got hot through their last 3 games, and with fairly small losses through the off-season and a strong rookie class, they'll be looking for a fast start to 2016-17. Standout offensive trio, quarterback Jacob Baldwin, wideout Kurt Sumner and running back Ryan Montgomery all return this year and will be looking to put up similar 30-point plus scorelines to what we saw at the end of last year. If they can find this kind of offensive output, you've got to question who in the 2A North will be able to keep pace with the Mud Dogs.
9.
The Stags stay put at 9 courtesy of their reputation and our belief in their 3-year plan. They opened their season at home against City Sentinels on Sunday, and with a 6-2 record from 2015-16, the Sentinels are no slouches. They did what needed to be done to find wins last year, even if by the narrowest of margins. With the Burners earning a less than convincing win in their Week 1 outing against Chichester, the Stags conference looks like a very open playing field. A good opening performance against the Sentinels could see the Stags climb.
8.
And once again no change as we find Gloucester entrenched in the number 8 spot, but we doubt it'll be for long. Eager to get their season underway, the Glads have jumped their Week 10 game forwards to this weekend and will welcome the Bournemouth Bobcats to their home ground at the Folly on Sunday. The quarterbacks from last season may have moved on, but they're confident in the legs of speedster back Daft Matheson and in a defence that boasts some veteran playmakers such as club president and strong safety Dan Pell and free safety James Perrett, who come into the year off a successful season playing for the Bristol Aztecs, home of most of the Gladiators' coaching staff during the summer. Plymouth made a statement in putting 30 points on Cuda, so look for the Glads to aim for similar this weekend.
7.
A brand new entry from a brand new programme. It was one hell of a debut for the Quimble Vipers this past weekend. First ever game, first ever league win, and with a 40-point offensive performance, their first ever trip onto the DC Power Rankings. Hey, not bad for a first week of Uniball. Beginner's luck, or are the Vipers a legitimate contender in what looks to be a vulnerable conference? We'll know more when the Vipers take on the Dragons in what will be the Dragons season opener in Week 3.
6.
Knights move up a place courtesy of the Barracuda bombing out of the rankings. Napier got the season off to a good start with an opening day win, but did so in a worryingly familiar fashion, strong D but pedestrian offense. This is somewhat surprising considering most of their offensive playmakers are still in place from last year, including running backs Ross Thomas and Jamie Shedden, quarterback Cameron Smith and wide receiver Brandon Michael, whereas the defence lost a number of starters including team MVP, and I swear this is his actual name, we looked him up, Long Huang. Anyway, we'll learn more about the shape of Napier's conference this weekend when 4 of their rivals kick off their seasons as Heriot Watt take on Edinburgh Predators and then the UWS Pyros take a trip down to York.
5.
It's a slight drop for the Colonials, courtesy of being leapfrogged by another team. The season gets underway this weekend with a visit from the Leicester Longhorns, who might be a bit of a dark horse this season. Leicester only won a single game last year, but 5 of their 7 losses came by a score or less, 3 in overtime. Still, last time we met, the Colonials were at the height of their win streak. They marched right over the Longhorns and will hope to have continued their momentum into this season. Look for running back Dean Turner to shoulder the lion's share of the carries this Sunday as Lincoln look to put in a good showing so as to keep pace with Coventry.
4.
The Mariners are yet to set sail this season and so slip a spot. This follows the withdrawal of the LSBU Spartans, meaning that the start of Greenwich's season was delayed until this weekend, where they'll host the Canterbury Chargers team that opened their year with a 14-6 win over the Essex Blades. With new facilities, upgraded equipment and a new offensive coordinator in the form of Kirk Dunn, the Mariners have great expectations of themselves this year. Look for them to make a statement in their game of Sunday, else risk a tumble down the rankings.
3.
Blitz get a little bit of pride back after Barracuda took a bite out of them at the end of the regular season last year. Opening their season at Bristol last Sunday, the Blitz, under new head coach James Ogier, will have been very aware that this year a single loss likely means the loss of their conference crown and what is expected to be a very hotly contested Southwest Conference. Instead, they won out in convincing fashion and get a boost up the rankings. The Blitz offense under new offensive coordinator Steve Jones showed great resilience, and ultimately it looks as though they outlasted and outmuscled the Cuda defense in the second half to grind out scores and grind down the game clock. Plymouth came into the season with a spread of playmakers and offense that they lacked when it mattered at the end of last season. Quarterback Fen Trudgeon is healthy and poses an unexpectedly agile threat on both the ground and in the air, while the return of Ed Eagle Green from a year on placement provides both pace and persistence in the backfield. Blitz play again this weekend against a somewhat unknown factor that are the OPU Panthers. The Panthers' 15-16 season was scuppered due to off-field issues, but they've returned a lot of their big-bodied athletes and expect their offensive line to be the backbone of the team in 2016. Marquee recruit Alex Wright of the GB Juniors will look to keep the Blitz passing game in check.
2.
Burners win and yet drop a spot in the rankings? It might seem harsh, but with the Burners being hotly favoured for promotion by many coming into the season, only taking a single score victory away from a young programme like Chichester has made the 2A South suddenly look like an open playing field. Delving deeper, you can see that the Burners took a big hit in this off-season in terms of graduations, including the departure of 3 GB student calibre players, T. Odoya, Sam MM and Aggie Mansilla. However, speaking to those who are pitch side, don't read too much into this scoreline. The Burners actually dominated the first half, scoring on 3 of their first 8 drives and typically killing their own momentum through turnovers, particularly via the centre to quarterback exchange as their offense transitions to going under centre. They pulled starters early, giving the Spitfires a chance to make it look interesting. Obviously winning's winning, whether it's done by an inch or a mile, and the Burners are still the team to beat in the 2A South, but we'll be looking for something a bit more convincing from the Burners as the season progresses to keep them high on our ranking. With 2 empty weeks until their next fixture, expect the Burners to hang around the upper half of the rankings until we learn a little more.
1.
And topping out our Week 1 rankings are the Coventry Jets. The Jets certainly didn't lack for enthusiasm and swagger coming into their first fixture, and they followed through with a dominant 31-12 victory. The Jets displayed good balance between run and pass, despite miserable weather in the Midlands, and could have come away with an even larger scoreline if they hadn't been suffering from a case of the whoopsies, a well-known ailment that often affects Britballers early in the season, the symptoms of which include moist balls, greasy palms and coughing. Up the ball leading to missed opportunities. They've got a lot of swag, a massive roster and some big-time playmakers, and even with 2 bye weeks before their next fixture, don't expect them to surrender the top spot easily. So that's Division 2 Week 1 in the bank, nation, and what do you think of our picks? Let us know in the comments down below if you think we've missed someone out or maybe we've been too generous. Remember, if you like these videos, hit that like button. If you want to see more, go ahead and give that subscribe button a little prod. And in the meantime, play hard, play safe, and why not go check out our Division 2 predictions for this Sunday, now including the Gloucestershire Bournemouth game that we definitely didn't miss out when we initially published them earlier today.